Ogle County leaders may rein in a rodeo accused of animal cruelty.
Reporter Nathaniel Langley talks with activists who feel the cancellation of a permit is long overdue.
This is so blatantly abusive.
Last year, Kelly Miller came across a video of rodeos at Rancho La Esperanza.
I had never heard of steer tailing. I had never seen anything like this.
Footage from showing animals respecting kindness captures steer tailing, where cowboys pull bulls by the tail to the point of ripping skin off bone. On Tuesday, Ogle County Zoning Committee unanimously voted to revoke the business's special use permit to operate.
Myself, as well as many other county residents, feel that this is just not going to be enough.
County board members say Rancho may have lost its permit not because of animal treatment, but because it didn't give the sheriff's office a 48-hour heads up about an event.
Their concern is that they weren't informed at least 48 hours ahead of an event that was going to kill half the herd.
Shark started filming Rancho's rodeos around April 2022.
Shark has proven that this property and the owners violate state law.
Leaders from the animal rights group don't want the restrictions to stop there. They demand county leaders use the Illinois Humane Care for Animals Act to permanently close the business.
They don't have to be an animal activist to believe that steers with broken legs should receive veterinary care.
The permit's revocation will require full board approval.
There's a lot more that we can do to hold not just that property accountable, but anyone accountable.
Reporting in Rochelle, Nathaniel Langley.
We reached out to Ogle County's chair and board members for comment. None accepted an interview. Rancho has yet to respond to our request either.
The trial for Shark's Jody Wiedeker starts Monday. She faces felony charges for repeated calls and a false report to 911 connected to the Rochelle rodeo.